Night and Down with the Sickness would be a good remix.
Look at the stars. Ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah.
What do you suck on again? Oh, feet. What do you do after you suck on the feet?
This is Chris Hansen.
This is TJ Hushmanzada.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
This is Jamie Hudson.
And I need to let y'all know something. You're listening to.
And
you're listening to.
It just makes sense.
This just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Woo! Way better than Chris Hansen.
Yeah, seriously. I want to get involved in the rigging of Fat Bear Week.
In relationship to Fall Out Boy.
Oh, Fall Out Boy. People are.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
we got it.
Cut that.
Like, someone should hire you to be a protester. 4 bills dead weight. They're not getting you off that court.
They look at me and I'm like, I fucking dare you.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
dare you.
I mean,
There's
like,
no tractor. There's nothing that can.
They gotta be forklift certified.
Oh, I can't be a Cowboys fan because of this moral high ground that you are on. Bite me. Eat me.
Bite me. Eat me. I mean, gosh.
I'm so sorry to everyone that we just did that to.
Everything I just said before, I just made that shit up.
Small enough and dumb enough.
Small enough, dumb enough. That's what we want.
That is It Just Makes Sense. You guys did remind me of a video I saw on the TikTokies. Of course.
God, such a fucking.
This is how we're gonna start.
Yes, exactly. Because what you were doing is you were saying that Eric Clapton with Rage Against the Machine is a perfect remix, right?
No, Down with the Sickness.
Down with the Snicks.
That's Disturbed.
My bad. Apologies. And how did that go? If I could change the world. Exactly. So putting 2 songs that don't go together, which is what I was thinking when I saw this video, which is playing songs at extremely inappropriate times, part 3. It's a TikTok series that this guy does.
Come back. I'll never let go. I promise.
And that's it. I'm the only one who think that's funny. Okay.
I mean, I get it.
All right.
That was an inappropriate time.
It
to
was
play
a
that
very
song.
inappropriate. What was even funnier was that he put on all of his LED lighting flashing in the background as well. So.
If that actually played while you were watching the movie, what do you think your reaction would be? I don't think you'd bust out laughing. I don't think you would appreciate the humor until after.
Yeah, I can't believe you disrespect the Titanic like this, Peter, after everything you've done and gone through.
I went back and I saw it in theaters on its 25th
Remastered?
Yes, on its 25th anniversary.
How was it this time around?
Beautiful. I was glad to be able to see it like that in a theater from like a different point of view. And it was in 3D. You couldn't not watch it in 3D, which I thought was kind of weird.
You didn't
but
get
it was
seasick?
I did not. No. But there were some times when it was like a little bit blurry or whatever. Because I wear glasses, I was like kind of worried about how that would translate. But it was fine.
Did you put your glasses on top of the 3D glasses?
No, it was glasses on normally and then 3D glasses on top of that.
Oh.
A bit awkward. But they did make it large and big enough that it was fine. So,
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Where'd you see it?
We went to Bridgeport. We were at Bridgeport. It was like one of the only places that was still playing it at the time. So that's how
You
that
saw
went.
that over Cocaine Bear?
I saw it before Cocaine Bear. I've yet to see Cocaine Bear. Have you guys seen Cocaine Bear?
I have not.
I have not.
Cocaine Bear in 3D would be quite the experience.
Man. It's like you're there,
Yeah. Speaking of getting high watching Cocaine Bear, one of my old coworkers was talking about how he got extremely. He took like the biggest edible he's ever taken in his entire life and went and saw Titanic. Like that is. He said he had to have like a mental health break during the middle of the movie.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a lot.
I feel like that would be the movie you'd see while you're
No,
high.
not at all. I don't know why he chose that was the move, but it was the move.
Like, if you're going to make me see a movie while I'm high, it would 100% be a comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like one where like
Something
everyone
that's going
dies.
to trigger me, like,
Yeah.
laughing my ass off.
Yeah, or like a cool movie, like a Star Wars, or like something,
Something very nerdy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, something
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice, but we don't question it overly. Well, welcome back, guys. After yet another week off. This time, no one
died.
There were no deaths. Just
Good for us.
We've
good
just
for us.
we've gotten so famous that we're having to do appearances.
We do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're having to show up to clubs and bars and
Yep.
sporting events, and we can't
Yeah, we
record
have to
normal schedule.
Thanks to everybody who showed up and gave us love.
Yeah, really tried to make sure that we were still okay. It's
Yep.
like, where is the pod this week? Well, listen, guys.
We're big now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The fame has
yeah.
got to us.
it does get to us.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah. We were talking ahead of this about trying to commit insurance fraud. Well, I was talking about committing insurance fraud as a person who,
I don't know him.
Yeah. I don't know why you're incriminating yourself.
yeah,
Why would you say that live?
the only person who has had his house burned down. I have quite the experience, so I can help you navigate the waters should you ever need it. Juan.
Guarantee there's cops listening to us. I don't want anything
Do we
to
have
do
cop
with this.
listeners? I'm sure we have cop listeners.
I bet that guy in Germany is a fucking cop.
Yeah,
Might be.
he's a there,
Big old cop.
I think they're called something different in Germany.
What are cops called in Germany?
Heineken.
Nazis.
Oh, shit. Let's see. Police in Germany. What are they called?
Jugendzeit.
It just says federal police. Where?
No, you have to say
Oh, no.
it in
What
German.
are German police called? Buddhist police.
They're
Buddhist.
Buddhist.
They're no. Bundes. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have
Bundesliga.
Google say it. Can it say it? Usually, there's a thing where it says it.
Buddhist police. They're Buddhist.
They are.
Either way. Bundespolizei.
You're killing it.
I'm
Pete.
I'm gonna spend the next hour thinking about this. Translate. Say it out loud for me.
German is
Okay. I think
Germany
I've
is a
got it.
big Buddhist country.
Here we go. Polizei. Okay, I was close. All right.
Incredibly close.
Bundespolizei.
Bundets.
I'm glad we got that figured out.
You're welcome.
Ooh, ah, ha, ha, ha.
Oh.
That's how they don't say freeze in Germany. They go ooh, ha, ha, ha. Bundespolizei.
Laughing is a very unique thing to a person. Like, have you been on a date before or dated someone in which their laugh was almost like a deal breaker for you?
Yeah, I went on a date with a girl that sounded like fucking geese.
What does that sound like?
Well,
like,
let's get a goose sound and
It's-
then we'll
it's-
see how it sounds again.
No, it's like she couldn't. It sounded like she was controlling the noise from coming out of her mouth, and she didn't appreciate that. Every time she laughed, I would look around like, because she would go, like it. It's like a flock of geese just around you.
Let's see if this. Here we go.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's what she sounded
She
like.
honked.
It sounded like an old Civic that had trouble honking the horn. I couldn't get used to it.
Yeah, I don't know about
This
that.
is back like 20 years ago, back in the day. I couldn't get
Did
used
you have
to
sex with her?
it. No.
I can only imagine what that
What
sounded
that
like.
would have been like, yeah. That could just totally take you out of it.
Yeah, Daddy. All right, boner gone.
It's over.
I'm going to go home.
It totally takes you out of it. Have you had that experience?
No.
All right.
But I'm trying to think of. I had this story once told to me by my sophomore baseball coach that I'm trying to decide whether or not it's appropriate for this podcast.
Listen,
Are you serious?
the amount of thing, like you found the limit on what's appropriate for this podcast.
Of all the shit we've said,
just say it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll say it, and if it's bad, you might just cut it.
Yeah.
But remember, okay, sophomore year of high school, we're going on a baseball trip to Southern California to play in some tournaments, go to like Disneyland, whatever. We're driving there by bus. So obviously many hours in the bus, and there's one coach, I won't say his name actually.
Coach.
And he was Coach L, and he was a very, very cool dude, players coach. He was the one who kind of like got along with everybody. And he's sitting in the back of the bus kind of shooting the shit with us. And some of the seniors are like talking about, sex and girls and stuff like this. And one of them was talking about how he had hooked up with a girl and she made weird moaning sounds or something like that. And our coach says, listen to this one, guys. I used to have a roommate who was dating this deaf woman for a while.
Oh, no.
And our rooms were adjoining.
this is going to be good.
And because she was deaf, she couldn't hear how loud she was being. And so he would go to bed at night, and all he could hear is, oh, yes, fuck me. And again, this is my baseball coach telling us
this to a bunch of like teenagers.
14 to 18-year-olds, and we're just dying laughing in the back of this bus. But that might not make it, but
Oh, it's definitely
not that
making
bad.
it. Okay,
That's not
so
that bad.
he was no. So his friend, his roommate was
his roommate.
Okay,
in
so there's a
college.
degree of separation. So
Yes.
and now there's multiple degrees of separation.
Yes.
So we have no firsthand account of this deaf woman getting her back blown out.
I think
She did enjoy herself, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
one of the best things about being out of the dating scene when you're like in a serious relationship is you can look back at all the shit that you used to be a part of and just think of like how crazy and how comical it all was. Like anyone that I've ever gone on a date with, that my friends have gone on a date with, one of our listeners, which was one of my best friends, German, I came like
You came?
we both did.
Whoa.
Whoa.
No, but I
That's a good friend.
moved down to Arizona for school, and the first night he said, I've been talking to this girl. I don't remember. I think it was through like because there's no Tinder and shit in 07, 08. It was like a chat room or whatever.
Okay, sure.
So he's been messaging with her back and forth. The night that I got there, we're like, oh, let's go to the store, let's get some beer, and we get back to our apartment, and he's like, this girl wants to come over. And I was like, tell me about this girl. And he's like, I've just been messaging with her back and forth. I don't know what she looks like.
no pictures exchanged.
No photos, no nothing. And she was down to hang out, but she needed a ride. So we went to go to like fucking South Phoenix somewhere from Tempe. And we were looking for her house. And I was like, dude, just call her. Call her so we can, like, we don't have to keep fucking driving around looking for this shit. She answers the phone, and it was the deepest voice.
Hello.
And I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. Now, we finally find her house. It's not who we pictured from the voice. It's a petite, tiny little girl, and she is carrying a have you ever seen one of those stripper makeup kits?
Yes.
with like rollers and everything.
I mean, I'm talking like a fucking suitcase.
It looks like a tackle box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a giant tackle box.
yeah.
So I'm like, she's a stripper. And he comes in.
Well, at least it was a she to start.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least
So
you had
it's
the
fine.
she.
So we get back to our place. We're drinking. They get in the room, and I could hear them. I mean, the walls are super thin where we lived. And they're fucking. And I'm in the living room. She comes out, and he would appreciate this. He wouldn't give a fuck. She comes out, no hair. She was wearing a wig the whole time.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. She came out to flush the condom down the toilet.
We'll just throw it away or
But
something.
She comes out, and her wig was off. And I go in the room because I wanted my laptop. Because I got horny and I needed to watch MILF Hunter videos.
Yeah.
I
And this was
Yeah.
when you
Girl.
guys were all sharing the same room.
Jermon and I were sharing
Three
a
guys
room.
were sharing a
Oh,
room.
my
with Three
gosh.
separate beds.
And
yeah.
he's just laying there. And I'm like, bro, what's up with the wig? He's like, he's post-nut. He's just like out of it.
Doesn't matter at that
I'm like,
point.
oh, there's no
Post nut clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that she was the one, flushing the condom down because apparently, like, that was what I think it was Drake or someone else that was like notorious for doing stuff like that, where it was like,
Yeah,
you
he
don't know.
put the hot sauce
yeah,
in the condom.
exactly. You had to like make sure that
Before he
like,
put it on?
post nut to make sure that women weren't going back in and trying to make him their baby daddy. So
God bless that girl, Kim.
it's Kim.
Kim, if you're out there, shout out.
Kim. Then-
Shout out, Kim.
Yeah.
Who
then-
knows? Kim might be listening.
Yeah,
to this
next thing
shit.
you know, she's banging Ray J, and now she's got $1
You
billion.
know, I had a little bit of a run-in with a stripper named Kim myself, if we're all being honest.
Kim.
Actually,
Yeah,
Are they
I'm
just all there,
I'm
just
not
all named
ki-
Kim?
I'm not
or
kidding.
Kimmy,
I'm
or
not kidding. I had a-
Kim is a very common stripper name.
Yeah.
Government name, not
Government.
stage name.
I'm pretty sure that was her real name.
is this the story that I think happened with this Kim?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Pete. I
Okay,
really
I'll
don't know.
bleep this. Is it when she's
Yeah, that's the
Fucking Kim.
I'm not. I'll allow people to try and
one. Please bleep that.
I'll bleep it, but I'm not gonna.
Please.
I'm not going to do the mouth, so people can try and read the mouth there. So that's
Yeah,
incredible.
you have to beep that.
Yeah,
so
I
you're
will.
saying so you're saying you won't blur out the mouth when you say she.
Okay, that's enough. That's
That was a
enough.
really long beep that I just had to put in there.
But
That's
they can read
enough.
my lips.
They can. I might.
Stop.
Yeah, I might. Stop.
Stop it.
It's the past.
Anyways.
man.
Yeah, it's the wing stop that we just had. It's making us all kinds of crazy, and those
I know.
incredible Costco cookies. But it wasn't. We had wings tonight from Wingstop. The transition for me is that there is a guy who is suing Buffalo Wild Wings right now. Have you heard about this?
I have.
He is suing Buffalo Wild Wings in a class action lawsuit claiming that the restaurant chain falsely advertises its boneless wings as the real deal when in reality they're nothing more than chicken nuggets. He was under the impression that he was eating the meat off of the chicken wing that had been dissected and put
Deboned?
into deboned. Yeah, dissected. Deboned.
What world does this guy live in?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on his side.
I mean, listen.
Like people are taking the time to debone.
Well,
a flat
don't
and a
call 'em
drum?
bone-
don't
boneless
call 'em- Yeah,
wings.
when we all know that they're just
That's
like
a mi-
pieces of
That's
chicken.
a misrepresentation.
It is a misrepresentation. That's what he is claiming in this complaint. It's false and deceptive marketing and advertising.
Fucking Democrats.
I mean, you're just mad. I mean, I'm thinking like if he eventually is leading this charge on this class action
I
lawsuit.
want in. That's why I'm agreeing,
in.
because if this is a class action lawsuit, I want in. Did I tell you guys that I was a part of a class action lawsuit recently?
Really?
Yeah, against Starbucks, and I got a check for like $280.
Lindsay got some too for the tips, right?
Yes.
She got. I think probably a little bit even more than
That's
that.
Yeah,
That's a-
she probably worked there longer than I did.
Yeah.
That's a big amount. Oh, because you worked there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've been part of one, and it's Wells Fargo, and I got a $7 check.
Yeah.
No, it was employees were suing the company for not getting the correct
Tips or something like
percentage
that?
share.
On tips, yeah.
or something like that. But anyways, yeah,
Free money.
just got a check one day.
Incredible.
It was great.
It is kind of interesting because, let's see, I mean, they are kind of like admitting fault in a way in jest. Where is the actual tweet here? So Buffalo Wild Wings has provided a tweet in response to comment. The tweet reading, "It's true, our boneless wings are all white meat chicken. Our hamburgers contain no ham. Our buffalo wings are 0% buffalo." And I think that is their interpretation to say that, like, you know, there's no such thing as a boneless
I'm on
wing.
beat up side on this one.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
So, and that's like the thing. Are people going to sue vegetarian companies that claim that things are chicken? Mm-hmm. Which we've talked about on this podcast before, which is just stupid that vegans will try and mimic something that they hate so much by calling it chicken, by trying to mimic it, like by trying to mirror it. But that's another point. I do wonder, depending on the language or advertising or however they want to construct this, if this guy could actually win in the world of frivolous lawsuits, which, people have gotten away with, if this is not just another one of those things, maybe it'll be dead on arrival.
Fucking shameless mother. That's like suing McDonald's because Big Macs made you fat. How is that different? Like, it's a money grab.
Right.
And the fact they could get away with, some of them can get away with it, is ridiculous.
Right, like, I mean, the original, big, what people would call a frivolous lawsuit, which actually wasn't at all, the one that started it off was like the old woman who had the McDonald's coffee spilled on her.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, 198 or 200 degrees. It had no warnings. It spilled all over. It caused her third-degree burns. Fell all up in her lap, so she had, like, third-degree burns up in her private areas and all the...
Her hoo-ha?
Her hoo-ha! Speaking of, in the last week, I have joined the list of people who have been exposing their junk to doctors,
To medical professionals.
So I have now joined.
Welcome, dude.
Yeah, no, that one was fun.
Do you feel free?
Did you fluff it a little?
I tried to do one like kind of courtesy yank
Like
right there, just to.
You yank. You don't do a gentle slap.
It wasn't a slap. It was just kind of like, okay,
I'm a yanker.
It was a yank.
I'm a
Yeah, just like
For me,
totally
what
undo the hose a little bit.
What gets it up is a breeze, like a cool breeze.
Starting a lawnmower. Sorry, go ahead, Miguel.
Yank it. No, what gets me up is a breeze. So
Yeah.
I just do a
You just blow on it.
a little.
Good for you, man.
Fan it with a clipboard.
You just have a feather behind your ear.
It's time.
So yeah, it was a little interesting because like my experience is a little different. It was like a doctor's appointment, so I wasn't like in there already for something. They didn't give me a gown or anything, and she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a physical examination. Just like drop your pants."
I was gonna say, this is your first time exposing?
No. Like
Like,
recently,
you've
no.
gotten sports physicals,
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah. I'm just talking about like kind of in recent memory. Like I haven't had any doctor feel me up recently. But on this occasion, it happened, and so so I didn't have a gown on or anything, so I just had my belt on and undid it, and she just like scooted closer, and it felt a little strange.
I don't think
As a
that's
never nude, it was.
strange at all. But were you guys ever involved in for sports? Like I remember one time for wrestling, we all like dropped down and got naked in the locker room, lined up, and then they checked us. They did a physical and like the scoliosis.
Oh, the
check.
scoliosis. Yeah, in middle school. That's
Yeah.
right.
So you never like just had those experiences
That
where
was-
you like were naked around?
Not
people?
naked. No, I don't think it was. It was one by one. It wasn't like in a line or anything. It was just like
Oh.
we went around the corner. There was a nurse, and then she checked, and then you were just kind of on your way. But it wasn't like we were all standing next to each other.
I think, if I recall correctly, we were all standing there naked.
Have you never showered in a gym
Yeah.
naked? around other guys?
Um,
Communal shower.
all of the gyms that I've been to as an adult are just like individual stalls.
Oh.
So I haven't been in one of those situations where it's just like a big open shower.
Jail rules.
You actually, at least the jail I went to, you got your own stall.
Really?
Oh,
How about that?
But it fits
Yep.
5 people, and it's required that you shower with 4 others.
Well, then, jail rules.
yep. Jailhouse rules.
Well, speaking of all of things in terms of, we have covered a lot of ground as it pertains to genitalia and getting off. Or maybe I'll just bring up the getting off part, which was this new study. It says abstaining from masturbating raises risk of anxiety, depression, and erectile dysfunction, says a study.
Like not doing it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, they surveyed over 500 people, and they found that people who had abstained felt more worthless, shame, and sad, in some cases suicidal,
That's
when they weren't.
What?
So
when
what's
they,
the recommended minimum here? 3-4
it says
times a
so.
week,
Yeah.
or-
So one Harvard University study even found that men who ejaculate at least 21 times a month slash their risk of prostate cancer by 1/3. So kind of all of this together. So
Damn.
You know how we've always said I'm a medical anomaly? We now know the answer.
Yeah. I guess I wasn't jacking off enough. It
Yeah,
really-
I mean, like,
I beat 21 easy. In a month?
yeah, in a month. That's less than one. Yeah,
What if
Yeah.
that's what caused my heart attack?
You don't jerk off enough.
I
you
don't jerk off
enough. Yeah, you need to
Getting
do
all
that.
clogged up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think there's a distinct difference that most partners will question, like, why would you jerk off if you have a wife or a girlfriend and you have sex? Tell you what, having sex is great. Jerking off is a different.
Yeah, it's
It's
totally
a different
thing.
beast. There's a calmness and peacefulness and privacy around it. It is.
Nice breeze.
It's like scratching an itch.
It's one of the best parts of my day. I will tell you, and naturally, there's enough people that listen to this that I could get fired, but I kind of would like that. Today, I texted Ashley this morning, and I was like, I am having trouble staying awake. Like, I was literally dozing off on my desk. Like, I couldn't work. I was falling asleep. I'm just dead. At lunch, I jerked it.
Yeah,
Snapped one off.
Guess what?
very productive afternoon.
Got a sail in the afternoon.
There you go. It lowered your anxiety and your
Yes.
sense of
Yeah.
My
worthlessness.
posture was great. I was
Yeah.
up. I wasn't slouching.
Yeah.
Got a deal. It was good to go.
Yeah, but sometimes if you time it incorrectly, if you like do it right after having like a huge meal, then you just want to sleep for 3 hours. Then that's
Yeah.
a problem. So you have to has to be kind of the
Jerking
right.
off right after a big meal is the equivalent of taking NyQuil.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, sometimes that's just like the reason to do it is just so you can just get to sleep faster.
It does. I have read that it helps you get to sleep. Probably 'cause
You've
it-
read. You don't know from personal experience by now.
Well,
This
yeah,
one
that
guy
too.
I know.
I'm a personal case study.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard through the grapevine that if you do this,
But I'm saying that there's been
Yeah.
studies as well to back up my personal experiences, Peter.
yes, I know.
So
dare you.
that
My
article is
apologies.
kind of confusing. You're saying, I thought you
It's
were
kind of two different. It's a couple of topics all in
Jerk
one.
off
Okay.
more.
Jerk off more is what it's.
because I thought you were saying like if you don't jerk off that you're better off.
No,
No, no.
It's saying that if you abstain from masturbation or intercourse, that it raises your
Okay.
risk.
I thought you were saying the
So
other way
abstain,
around.
yeah. So actually performing the act will lower your risk of anxiety, depression, and erectile dysfunction.
So you're good, man. No,
Yeah,
no
so you're
wonder you
totally
don't deal
fine.
with anxiety or depression.
Great immune system, all of it.
Is there a problem with too much jerking off outside of blindness?
No.
Blindness.
Blindness is
Blindness, yeah.
that's universal. That's
Yeah,
that
no.
everyone
No.
that's everyone knows about that. If you jerk off more than
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You have never heard that if you jerk off more than like 15 times a day that you can go blind.
Oh,
He jerked himself blind.
Yeah, it's
Never.
true.
No,
That's
it's
got to
not.
be such an urban
That's
myth.
a
And
wild-
That is not an
tale.
urban myth.
Okay.
Wives' tale.
Have you gone? Okay, let's. I'll ask you this: have you gone near like jerking off 8 to 10 times a day?
Yeah.
Consistently or just
No,
ever?
at least a couple times. Would you remember the day that you jerked off like close to 10 times?
Yeah,
in
sure.
I
one
can
day?
remember one specific day that I jerked off more than that.
Okay, do you remember your state at that? Like what you were doing? Like what you were doing? What was happening to you when you jerked off that many times in one
I
day?
was in high school, probably.
Yeah, my dick felt raw.
Yeah, and then you were probably like the 9th or 10th time or more. You're doing this.
That's just kind of like a reaction to.
No, that's where your eyes roll to the back of your head. That's how you go blind.
I would love to see the evidence behind this.
Yeah, you come to us after your 8th time in a day, and then
Well,
we'll
I've
watch you on the
stopped
9th
at
and 10th
14.
time. Yeah. Okay, so the first reaction, the first like 4 or 5 here. Can you go blind from masturbating? No, it doesn't cause blindness. This one, masturbation myth, blindness. No, there's absolutely no direct connection. I understand what you mean. It's kind of like eat your crust so that you learn how to whistle, or make sure that like you don't.
What the fuck did
You
you
haven't
do?
heard about
fuck
that?
are you guys
Eat your
talking
crust
about?
so you know how to whistle?
Yeah, there's like all kinds of things like that. Don't cross your eyes so that like they'll stay there forever. There's like all these things that your parents.
I
or
get
whatever
that
will tell you.
carrots help your vision.
Yeah, those types of things. For whatever reason, my mom said if you want to learn how to whistle, you have to eat
So,
your crust.
You're
Very
talking
silly
about
thing.
lies.
Yes, yes.
Damn
I
it.
get the urban myths you're saying. I've just never heard of the eat your crust so you learn how to whistle.
Yeah, I've come from a
If you
weird
think
background.
about it, it
all
really
right?
makes sense.
Yeah,
It just makes sense, actually.
It
Any
does
crust?
just make sense.
Any crust?
Pie crust.
I think that this was
pizza
more
crust.
specifically to like sandwich style
Ooh.
bread crust.
You were a no crust kid.
Kind of, yeah. Pass that on to my
You
child.
You bitch.
Yeah. I pass that on to my child.
He's a no cruster.
He is a no cruster. Even when we have cut the crust off, he still thinks that that is the crust. It's very odd. Very, very odd.
I gotta tell you, the whole no crust thing is a very rich people thing.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even heard of no
Well,
crust.
is there any sort of myth that your parents did to make you try and do something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The
can you name
manipulation they used with like Santa and stuff was
one?
appalling.
Yeah, I believed in Santa till I was in like middle school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've
Until
always
I
been-
found the presents, and I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
how did he get here?
I was gonna
already?
bring one up, but I think they weren't lying about it. It's like if you sit too close to the TV, your eyes will go bad. And I did that a lot, and my eyes are bad.
Yeah, I could see that being more logical. I don't know for sure, but
What about the standing too close to a microwave? You heard
Yeah.
about that one?
I heard
like
about that.
you stand too close to a microwave or having your phone vibrate in your pocket can affect you
the
having children.
radiation.
Radiation.
Something to think about, you know what I mean?
Something really to think about. Someone who has a lot to think about themselves is Mr. John Morant. As we transition into some sports, John Morant,
He's
away
lame as
from
fuck, dude.
he has been wielding guns in nightclubs and is now away from the team in kind of some sort of emotional rehab. Apparently, has some coping with alcohol that he's not really doing well with.
Can I just say, how many times have I brought up how unlikable the Memphis Grizzlies are?
You have, yes. Yes.
And
yes,
now it's coming to light for everyone to fucking see. The Ja Morants and the Dylan Brooks of the world. They're just so fucking unlikable. They're
yeah, and the thing is that like it is interesting that all of these things have kind of come out with Ja Morant over the last, I guess, a year or so, with the, gun being pulled on the Pacers traveling party from Ja Morant's friends to, him beating up a 17-year-old at his house and then pulling a gun on him. And then it's like, oh, none of this happened. And then you actually have him on Instagram Live just showing off a gun while he's out of state, no less, which then causes some sort of, other investigations into criminal offenses, and now the NBA's investigating. I imagine that him in this rehab center, emotional rehab center, whatever it's being called, labeled as, is just like, hey, you do this so that you don't get a mandatory 50-game suspension.
Yeah, going to rehab for being addicted to guns is something else. That's a new one.
Yeah.
He's just staying at home and staying out of the limelight. He's probably not an actual rehab.
Hopefully, not to be all like parenty on this, like hopefully he learns from this, because again, it's like if you think that you are hard or whatever from carrying a gun and then you pull that gun on the wrong person and you're not prepared to use it, but they are. I mean, it's very easy.
This
Things
guy's a
happen in just,
gangster.
like,
His real
split.
name is Clarence. He's just getting clowned left and right.
So, I mean, I hope that, especially as like kind of the new wave, the new talent of the league and such that John Morant is, that hopefully this will be a nice little eye-opener for him, but we shall see.
Whatever. It's better. Stop talking about the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not relevant.
They really aren't,
You think that
especially without Ja.
Well, you think that we'll see him before the end of the season? You think
Yeah.
he'll be back?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Money, man. I think people want to see it.
I think that he'll get fined and they'll make an example of him, but he'll come back.
The only way you won't see him is if they're not in the playoffs, but they are one of the top teams. So
Yeah,
they're
they're-
going to be there.
Yeah.
He'll play in the playoffs.
14 games over 500 right now. You did say that you wanted to take that bet with me with the Lakers making a little bit of a run right now.
I mean, I
Into
turned
the
that down
playoff, yeah.
before, and I was like, oh, I should have taken that. You're
Yeah,
willing
when you
to-
kind of look at like the difference between the 5 and the 13 seed in the West, it's just a few games.
like it'll change drastically every week.
How does the Jazz look?
I think they're up there.
Not good, Jim.
Not good?
I don't know.
I think they have a chance at the. I mean, more than half of the West have a chance in the
I know
play-in.
that's the thing. Yeah, the Jazz right now are sitting at 33 and 36.
So they're along with LA essentially.
Yeah, I mean, like right now they would, because 8, 9, 10, and 11 would play. Is that how that play-in goes?
No, it stops at 10.
Stops at 10. Okay. Well, I mean, there's still a half game out of that.
Yeah.
So, Yahoo.
Big Jazz guy.
Well, I'm just going to that game on the 8th of April, sitting courtside, and they're playing the Nuggets. So,
They'll
It'd be
lose
cool
to the
if it-
Nuggets.
yeah, well, it'd be cool if it meant something,
There was a big debate in the NBA about, there's a lot of topic about whether or not Jokic should get back-to-back on the MVP. That caused the whole debate with Kendrick Perkins and with J.J. Redick and Stephen A. Smith on First Take, which then, Kendrick Perkins, shoots around like veiled undertones about whether or not the voting on this award are actually, subconsciously or whatever, racist against or factoring race into their voting, and says, oh, like 80% of voters are white anyways, so they're going to vote for white
That makes
guys.
no sense, though.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, if we're using Perk as our voice of reason, Perk is
Yeah.
one of the dumbest NBA analysts ever. And that's because he's Kendrick Perkins. He was never that great of a fucking player. And I don't know how you feel, but like, I feel like J.J. Redick coming into this light and the being an analyst he's like a much smarter Max Kellerman, and he's able to call out Perk and Stephen A. Smith for some of their shit.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he apologized and was like, listen, like, this type of a take is what is wrong with this type of a show.
You're just looking for reasons why you don't want. I just don't think they're prepared to have a 3-time MVP, especially if it's Jokic.
Yeah, because like Jokic, they're saying, well, stats lie and all this other stuff. And that the bar for a player that should be back to back to back is Larry Bird status, and that not even LeBron has won it, in that fashion, and not even, who else? MJ even went, 3 straight. And it is a regular season award. And, to say, I understand, like, just sharing the wealth and saying that, like, Giannis has a great season or Joel Embiid has a great season. But I also understand the case to make this guy go.
Have you heard of a
3-peat.
good argument as to why Jokic should not be MVP?
No, I mean, other than, like, is this the guy that we think should be held in the lore, in the NBA lore of getting a 3-peat with the Larry Birds of the world?
Let me lay it out. If we're talking race, there's been 4 white players in the history of the league that have won MVP. So you can scratch that. Okay? If you're bringing up the caliber of players like LeBron James and Michael Jordan, they were MVPs because they helped their team to the top. But they've never done that and put up the numbers that Jokic is putting up.
Right. Historically, I mean, if you look at plus minus as a factor, which a lot of people try and discredit, he has historically, one of the best plus minuses ever.
And you just dial back 7 years ago, you gave the MVP to Russell Westbrook,
who was a stat patter.
who averaged a triple-double. Regardless if someone is padding stats or doing it just because of the way they naturally play, I don't give a fuck what you say. Averaging a triple-double for an entire fucking season is remarkable.
Yeah.
It was.
That's insane. If you're chasing that, whatever, but that's crazy. The way Jokic plays, he doesn't. If you actually watch how he plays, he doesn't chase after these stats. He just starts off every game getting everyone else involved. Last night, he had 35, 20, and 11. As the slow, unathletic guy, the way he looks on the court.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets are the number 1 team in the West. How could you deny him of the fucking MVP?
And to be such a dominant big man in a shooter's league.
For sure.
To
Yeah.
still make that position, the center position, important in today's league. As we've seen, there's only a few very special type of guys, Joel Embiid, Jokic, that can still have relevance in this day and age. And to not only have relevance, but to do it at such a high level is...
It is interesting that
tip your cap.
the 3 guys right now that are in the contention or that everyone's arguing with are 3 bigs right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think it would be an issue if Embiid was on the verge of getting his 3rd MVP, or Giannis was on the verge of getting his 3rd MVP, or Luka's on the verge of getting his 1st. I think the main issue here is the league and everyone surrounding it is not ready for a European player to get their 3rd straight.
Yeah. And
It's
to not
really
be in top 10 in scoring, because that's like a lot of what people are pointing to as well. So,
Yeah.
well, he doesn't, not even in top 10 in scoring. Well,
It's hard for them
cares?
to fathom that someone is on the verge of getting their 3rd straight MVP as the way Jokic is. He's not the flashiest. And you know what? Yeah, he doesn't average 30 points. But if you count how much he scores, and technically when he makes an assist, he's responsible for 2 points or 3. He's technically averaging fucking 50 points a game.
yeah.
So
I know
don't-
it's like points scored and points accounted for.
I don't
whatnot as
know.
well.
I've not heard a single reason or an argument that's legitimate as
Right,
to
yeah,
why
like,
he
There's
doesn't.
a lot of petty answers for
Yeah.
sure. And then, of course, ESPN, I imagine, and like J.J. Redick, a newcomer relative to the scene in
Yeah.
the media, was 100% right. And then ESPN essentially had to offer a retraction on Kendrick Perkins' comments and says, like, hey, upon further, review here, the way that it was being portrayed by Kendrick Perkins, the voter panel or the voter group is actually a lot more diverse than Kendrick Perkins suggested. And that is, I hope, a little bit when we are in kind of a shock jockey, fire from the hip type of a take, where people may consider actually fact-checking themselves and say that, like, I can just say this and it be gospel, and that you should just, like, take it for what it is without questioning it. And then, like, J.J. Redick was just like, it was a little bit kind of like this, not race war, but I mean, like, you had a black guy basically vouching for black players versus, like, this new, white analyst who is essentially defending the white player. So it was, like, a very, like, dicey subject to begin with. And then, Stephen A. Smith just, like, sat there for 10 straight minutes, like, you guys can hash this out. That's all you guys.
You make a good point when you can shut Stephen A. Smith up.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there with his mouth open. He's like, I don't even know.
He was playing mediator at a certain point. It's like, all right, now your turn, Perk. Okay.
It's just hard to take Kendrick Perkins seriously when he has repeatedly gone against his own argument. In different shows, he said one thing, and then he would play against it.
Sure.
And he's been called out specifically by J.J. Redick by saying, like, well, Embiid has done this and compared to Jokic, and Redick was like, no, Jokic has taken his team further if you're dialing back to last season or 2 seasons ago. No, games do matter as far as an MVP because whenever Jokic has a triple-double, they're 27-0 this season. So, like, what else do you have?
Sure.
You have been getting, like, whenever you say something that you clearly didn't fact-check and then you get blocked, you go to the race thing. Well, Embiid deserves it because I said so.
Right.
It's like,
let him have his chance in the spotlight. I wonder, you brought up Russ and averaging the triple-double and such, and I came across this graphic with the tag on Twitter. It says, like, start, bench, or cut these 3 players, Dame, Kyrie, or Russ. What would be your start, bench, cut between those 3 point guards?
I'm gonna cut Russ. I think the other 2 are much better than Russ.
Despite the MVP, because neither have won MVP.
Yeah, but I think again that was a specialized MVP.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was,
Sure.
It was much, which I'm not trying to take away. Incredibly impressive for him to average a triple double, but again, I think it's different.
There's also, like, both Kyrie and Russ come with kind of locker room baggage as well.
Yeah, I think you start Kyrie and then bench Dame, unfortunately, as hard as that is to say. But at least you still have Dame. If you have Dame coming off the bench, you're a good fucking team. So I'll take that.
I think my lineup wouldn't necessarily match up with my opinion of the players because I don't necessarily I respect Russell Westbrook's game. I think he has the intensity of somebody I would want on my team. I just don't think he knows how to control it.
Yeah.
So at times he's so out of control, going 100 miles per hour.
Plays at one level all the time.
So I would have to cut him because I'm not going to put him above the other 2. Now, when I'm left with Dame and Kyrie, hands down, I think Kyrie is a way more skilled basketball player than Damian Lillard. But I've seen from the last few seasons that I could rely on Dame more than I can rely on Kyrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would bench Kyrie because either it's a win-win. I bench either one, I'm good. Mm-hmm. I would start Dame just because I could rely on him. The only factor for me that doesn't exist here because neither of them do it would be defense. Neither of them play defense.
Sure.
So at this point, I'm looking at just all offense.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like, Russ doesn't know how to come off the bench. He actively resists it, and especially at this point in his career, like, if you're not going to start him, you have to cut him. And I mean, that's kind of what's happened with a number of his teams that he's actually been on recently, is that more or less he has been cut from those teams. And so
I disagree. He accepted that with the Lakers, and he did really well coming off the bench.
But as far as just like when you talk about the type of, you really think that he accepted that well?
He openly accepted that. Not only did he accept it, he played incredible during a 2-month stretch that he was the leading vote getter for
the
sixth man of the year.
Did
Like,
he
Russ was-
accept it or he just did it?
No, he openly accepted it with Darvin Ham, saying like he averaged like 14 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds.
Yeah, maybe it just didn't track how, he was actually speaking on accepting that role. Because, like, you've seen other players evolve their games to a degree. Like, we have known James Harden as forever as this iso ball guy who's going to, like, create his own shot, whatever. Over the last couple of seasons, like, when have we really heard about James Harden being this, like, offensive juggernaut? Like, he is the facilitator now on that 76ers offense. And I think it's really interesting the way that maybe he was just like, I can Chris Paul my way through and just be the, get it out, get it to somewhere else, and then, like, get it when I can because I know when I can hit my shot. I digress. I would start Dame, I would bench Kyrie, and I would cut Russ.
Honestly, if you take out off-court baggage, it wouldn't even be a question for me. I think Kyrie is just so much better than Dame.
Yeah, I was that was my mindset. If we're thinking purely basketball, I would have to start Kyrie.
Kyrie's been, I know it's a small sample size, but with Dallas, it is kind of interesting that you kind of have, like, two of the same guy in a way. Like, they don't know who's going to be taking the last shot. They gave Kyrie the ball to try and beat, I think it was against the Lakers. Might have been. It was just like a game-winning shot. They gave it to Kyrie. He couldn't hit it. The chances of making a game-winning shot all the time are low. I understand that. But still, I would still trust Dame in that type of situation even more.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that, and this was a topic that you had on the sheet for a while, which is like talking about who's had a better career, Dame or Westbrook? And it's kind of interesting, you look at Westbrook taking, a team to an NBA Finals, being in NBA Finals, being an MVP, those types of things, where then you also have Dame, who has been on one team who has, gone to a Western Conference Finals, but Rookie of the Year, 3-point competition winner, but like really when you look at it at face value, the hardware that each has is no one has like a crazy amount of accolades.
I think ultimately the answer to this comes down to personal preference and who you like. Because I think it's fairly even.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, based on awards and stats and things like that, I see how you could argue that Russell Westbrook is a better player or had a better career, but 9 out of 10 people are going to remember and like Dame more than Russell Westbrook.
Right.
Because what happens is you make up. You essentially do not see a flaw in your favorite player. Mm-hmm. Whether you accept it or not, it's not something. It's something that you can gloss over. So if you ask the general public, most people would say Dame because they like Dame as a player and as a person, and Russ is easily unlikable, because of how he talks to the media and how he's just an asshole sometimes. If we're talking straight accolades and whatever they've accomplished individually and with a team, I would say Russ is a little bit ahead.
Yeah, because Russ has made 9 All-NBA teams versus Dame 6. Russ has 2 scoring leaders versus Dame 0. Assist leader Russ 3 versus Dame 0. Dame has the Rookie of the Year. Russ does not. Season MVP for Russ. 25 points to 22 points in favor of Dame. More rebounds, almost by double in favor of Westbrook. 2 points more, or 2 assists more per game for Westbrook. Right even on steals.
But you could
blocks.
also argue that Russ has had better teammates than Damian Lillard, with having teamed up with Kevin Durant, with Paul George, with Chris Paul and LeBron and all this. So
James Harden.
Yeah,
you can kind of see how it could be even, but ultimately it comes down to personal preference because I don't know. Dame's more controlled, which is what I'll always knock Westbrook for. Is just he's not somebody I would want on my team because I don't think he knows how. He doesn't have any finesse.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to slow down, and sometimes
can't shoot worth a damn either these
that.
days. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not trusting him to shoot a 3 at all either. Russell Westbrook, 30% career 3-point shooter. Woof.
But if you compare the two, you're thinking like every time, if you dislike Russell Westbrook, even when he does something good, you find the negative in it. Oh, he got a triple-double. It's because he was chasing it. Oh, Dame scored 70. He wasn't being a ball hog. He just needed to. You know what I mean? Like, you find the good and the bad because of who you like. Kobe scores 80 because he's a fucking ball hog. Dame scores 70. Who else is going to score on his team?
Yeah.
Come on, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've also
He had
been...
the looks.
Yeah, well, I've seen Dame hit 66 points, which is career high, and they ended up losing that game. You know, so scoring that amount of points is not always beneficial to your team because a lot of people just, like, get out of your way and you go, oh, wow, 66 points. Oh, but you ended up missing, like, 15 shots or whatever, and that could prove to be all the difference. I wanted to talk about NFL free agency and then move to the NCAA tournament, which is fast approaching as well.
It's March, baby!
Yeah, we'll talk about the NFL first. I hesitate to even bring up Aaron Rodgers right now because by the time that this goes live here in about 40... Yeah, the decision is made right now.
Which is... Well, nothing is out.
Nothing's out, yeah.
But there was a cryptic tweet from Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, so the whole history of that was that Garrett Wilson was basically saying, like, oh, I'm smiling ear to ear right now. Sauce was like, oh, us burning the cheesehead really worked and everything. But then Garrett Wilson...
I can really enjoy my vacation now.
I can enjoy my vacation now. Well, apparently, Garrett Wilson just recently came out and said, listen, like, I thought that the tweet that I saw was official news. I don't have any insight here. My bad. So they don't have any. They were just going off of what were reports, which was Trey Wingo on Monday saying, oh, it's a done deal. And then,
that's a cover-up.
You have the main guys in Rapp and Schefter and all those other guys saying, like, we're just all in a holding pattern here.
Yeah.
So I hesitate, like I said, to really talk about Aaron Rodgers. I guess, like, we can predict now what we think is going to happen, and then we'll just air it as is. My gut is, like, if it hasn't happened yet, why should it happen? But I still think it will happen. So, but I don't know how many years he's going to play. It just seems very odd that there's this pipeline that Aaron Rodgers could somehow go to the Jets the same way that Brett Favre ended up with the Jets. Either way.
I think it's either the Jets or he retires.
Yeah.
I don't think he's retiring.
It's too much money.
I don't think he's retiring either.
Yeah,
I think
just too much money right now.
Yeah, and he's all piss and vinegar. He wants to go and show that he was the one bringing...
He holds the cards.
Yeah, that he was the talent. He was the reason Green Bay did so well. And honestly, it'd be kind of fun to see Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets.
I think that at this point, like, the Packers basically coming out and saying, like, hey, if things work out the way that we want it to, he won't be with us anymore.
Well, I think everything you've seen in the last few days, all signs are pointing to him going to the Jets.
Yeah.
Releasing Braxton Berrios, all of the moves that they've made, all the cryptic tweets, and these guys recruiting him, I think he's going.
What do you guys think about Jimmy G to the Raiders? He's going to get so laid there. I mean, he was always going to, but, like, Vegas girls
sucked off.
I think Jimmy G to the Raiders
with Josh McDaniels, who was, they had a little bit of overlap there with
the
Patriots.
best explanation of that move is Super Bowl odds for the Raiders before Jimmy G plus 4,000, after Jimmy G plus 4,000. Nothing has changed.
Move no needles. All right.
I mean, what is the difference?
You don't think the Raiders get any better?
Do you think Jimmy G's better than Derek Carr?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that he's a little bit more consistent, but also more injury prone.
Yeah, I will say that. His fault is injury, but I think if he's able to stay healthy, he is a more talented quarterback.
I trust Jimmy G more
than Derek Carr, for sure.
I think it's the same. I think
with the injury factor, it is probably the same.
Derek Carr going to the Saints is just like so weird.
It's kind of sad for some reason. Doesn't that seem like sad?
Yeah, and I mean, like
for
they're in
him
cap hell,
and the
too.
team.
Yeah.
It's like that is not gonna go well.
No, I mean the team's going to be bad because they have just like a terrible cap situation. They have like very little. I guess they got a couple of draft picks back from the Broncos in exchange for Sean Payton. But I mean, like, yeah, like, you know, you just go to get the bag, I guess. But
What about the Bears?
The Bears
have made moves.
yeah, they
huge moves.
traded down to number 9, switched with the Panthers. Panthers have the number 1 overall pick, and then they're like, hey,
I
we
thought it
might
was-
trade this as well.
I thought it was 6. I think they have the 6th pick.
No? 9.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Nice.
Didn't
Dyslexic.
now Fields has weapons?
Raiders have 6.
Okay. And DJ
Or
Moore.
7.
DJ Moore. He has Moore, Mooney, and Claypool. 3 solid receivers.
Edmonds just joined. Tremaine Edmonds, I think.
The Bears are for real.
Yeah, from
on
the
the
Bills.
Yeah, from the Bills.
And then they also got a linebacker, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, they had $80 million in free agency money to spend. So, I mean, like, hopefully then they'll move. They could even move around a little bit more and get more draft capital to just, like, for the love of God, take an offensive lineman. Take all the offensive linemen.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're going to be able to do in the draft is just get a couple big boys.
Yeah, I mean, this was a boon for them to have that number 1 overall pick, thanks to Lovie Smith in beating. Who the hell did they beat on that final game? Did they beat the Colts in that game? That Lovie Smith and
Wasn't supposed to
No.
win.
they weren't supposed
They
to win
beat
that
the
game.
Giants, I'm pretty sure.
Sure. But yeah, and then you say, okay, are the Colts gonna then all of a sudden try and get into that number 1 spot to get Bryce Young? It is kind of interesting because the Panthers kind of came out and said like, hey, we'll possibly shop this pick if we think that like our guy might still be available at 3 or 4 or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why people are so high on Bryce Young.
yeah, I mean, I'm not.
I don't think he's going to be good in the
He's
NFL.
he's like 5'10" and 195, 198 pounds.
And the
Like,
only
it's just-
time you've ever seen that size work in the NFL is if they could run.
Yeah.
That's why Kyler was got money, and that's why he was decent outside of being hurt. Bryce Young can't run.
Yeah. He's not the type of guy that Frank Reich likes either. Like Frank Reich, new head coach for the Panthers, likes like a big, tall, like burly, like the Andrew
Carson
Lucks, the
Wentz.
Carson Wentzes of the world. Those are the type of body frame, the type of quarterback that he likes, and he was a quarterback himself as well, so he understands position. I do think it would be really funny. I do think that the Panthers should trade with the Colts, fleece the Colts. Frank Reich gets a little bit of revenge for the fact that he got fired, and then he, gets the pick, still gets the quarterback he wants. Meanwhile, he didn't even want Bryce Young, and there's Jim Irsay, who's just like feasting to try and get Bryce Young, who is on the record of talking about how he wants Bryce Young. So.
Didn't the Panthers just move Darnold to San Francisco?
Well, not moved. Darnold was a free agent, and now Darnold signed a 1-year deal with the 49ers. So,
As a starter, as Brock Purdy's backup.
well, he might be a starter at a certain point.
Sounds like a QB competition going into camp.
Talking about like backup quarterbacks are the greatest move, aside from Case Keenum, somehow still in the league, signs a 2-year deal in Houston. He's a Houston guy, went to University of Houston. Now he's going to be there to finish his career as a backup, gets 2 years, $6 million. Get yours, I love Mike White, the White Knight, to back up Tua down in Miami. I just absolutely, because Tua's going to get hurt, and then you get Josh McDaniels with the White Knight down in fucking South Beach. I love that.
That's exciting. That is exciting.
I don't know why I'm so excited about that, but I was when I saw that news drop. Just felt so like such a great relationship.
Tua should
to
not
me.
be in a league anymore. He should stop playing.
Yeah. I saw that the Browns restructured Deshaun Watson's contract,
He's-
cleared up $40 million in cap space.
You know what the cap hit is going to be in the following 3 years?
No.
$64 million for the next 3 years after this one. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And
Browns being the Browns.
there's still no Lamar Jackson deal. We'll see what happens come
I heard
Wednesday.
Irsay might go after him.
Do it.
I
Why
feel like
not?
that would be weird seeing Lamar Jackson in a Colts jersey.
Yeah. It is kind of odd to see all of these teams kind of colluding together, all coming out. The Commanders saying, like, we don't want Lamar. The Falcons saying, we don't want Lamar. Miami, we don't want Lamar. And it was like, wasn't this guy just the MVP? And I know that, I'm talking outside of both sides of my mouth here saying, like, why would you trade for a guy who is only in 70% of games over the last 2 years? Which I still stand by that. I just think that it's odd that there'd be so many teams that are just like, no, we don't want to touch this guy.
I think it's, again, because of the
The
deal.
tag.
Well, the deal that he wants, the guaranteed money.
Guaranteed
I
money.
think that NFL teams don't want to set that standard.
Yeah, they don't need to collude to understand that the Browns were idiots for doing that type of a deal
Yeah.
and saying like, "Hey, we're not gonna go with that."
Yeah.
And
When's the NFL draft? April?
April, end of April. But I do think another thing that had been floated around out there was like a lot of teams are just like, listen, we think that you guys are going to get a deal done anyways. Don't make us do your dirty work for you.
Yeah.
Because what the Ravens can do is just match any deal. So, I mean, like there could be someone who goes out and goes, we'll give you $230 million guaranteed. Well, no team's going to do that for one. So they're like, we're not going to then like do all of the nitty gritty stuff just so that you can say like, yeah, we'll do the deal and then we carried all your water for you. So that makes a little bit more sense. It's like, just, clean up your own house a little bit.
Yeah, for real.
Either way, I'm liking all these moves. It's making next season
Yeah.
look very exciting.
I do think, I will comment on the potential trade request that Austin Ekeler might make with the Chargers. There was the story that came out today, basically Ekeler wanting to secure the bag for a more longer-term deal, and no official trade request has happened, but I think that it's just kind of stewing out there in the media that it could possibly. And the Chargers notoriously are not a team that will extend, like they want, like LT goes away, because they just didn't want to extend him, right? So I mean, like the Chargers are just not a team that really wants to pay a running back.
What happens if Ekeler goes to Kansas City?
Who did I hear? Who were they talking about that would be really... Oh, the Rams. Someone was thinking he just goes over the Rams. That would be really...
Ekeler goes to the Chiefs. Is that a lock for another Super Bowl?
They could do it without him. But, yeah, it would help. Whatever happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Did he just fall off the face of the earth?
I mean, he got hurt and then he fell off the face of the earth.
Does he get a ring?
Yeah. I mean, he was on the team. Yeah, fucking Melvin Gordon got a ring, and then he was out there on social just, like, gloating after he ends up leaving the Broncos. He was on the Chiefs, on the practice squad, and he's out there just like...
I would do the exact same thing.
You wouldn't?
Guess what? That's 2 rings from Marcus Kemp, late in high
Yeah.
school legend.
It is kind of funny when you think about 2 former Ducks, Dennis Dixon, quarterback, and Kenyon Barner, running back. Both have multiple Super Bowl rings. Kenyon has 3 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
Because he just followed Tom Brady for 2 of
Yeah.
them. He was on the Eagles for the other one. So he got one in New England, one down with the Bucks, and the other one with Philly. And
Where was Dixon at?
he was in Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger. He was backing
So he's
up.
got one?
He's got one, and he got a second one. Maybe he just had one, but I'm pretty sure he has 2. I think he went to another spot, and he got a second one. Let me verify that.
It's just rough. Like, football and basketball are so different that if you are a starter in the NFL, it's almost hard to cheer for who's taking your place when you get hurt, because if they blow up, you're done. And it's like Edwards-Helaire goes down, all of a sudden, we know about Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
And he's blowing up, and you're like, do I cheer for my teammate and be a good teammate, or like know that my starting position has been taken from me?
Yeah, that's always a toughie. I did want to run this Would You Rather by you guys before we move on to college basketball, because I do want to talk about college basketball.
Can I pay off the Dixon thing before?
Yes, yes.
So Dennis Dixon was on the Ravens in 2012 in the Harbaugh Bowl.
Oh,
He was
okay.
the backup there to Flacco. And
That makes sense.
he was cut from the practice squad originally, but then signed back on with the Ravens to the practice squad. So we didn't even back him up. He was my bad on saying that.
Yeah.
He was on the practice squad with the Ravens, won that Super Bowl.
Good for Double D.
Double D there. So.
Getting his rings.
All right.
That guy
I met
almost-
him one time at 10 Barrel in Portland. If there is a 10 Barrel. What's that one with the rooftop?
Yeah, that's
10
10
barrel.
barrel.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
got it.
He also almost got shot at Dave & Buster's on grand opening.
Really?
He was there.
He was signing bobbleheads, and there was a shooting.
There
on
was the
grand
shooting
opening
there,
at Dave
yeah.
& Buster's. He was in
Wow.
there.
How about it? Okay, so you're hypothetical.
Okay, would you rather, over the next 50 years, your favorite team, NFL team, wins one Super Bowl? Or over the next 50 years, you lose 15 Super Bowls?
Win one.
But you go, yeah, you get it.
I do, yeah, and I, as a Cleveland Indians / Guardians fan, that's kind of been more or less my reality. You know, losing the World Series in 95, 94, 95, 97, you know, getting your heart ripped out on you in 2003, 2004 with the Boston Red Sox, so not quite the World Series in 2016 with the Cubs, so I'm living that reality right now, more or less, with my favorite team.
Who would gloat about, we made it, but we didn't win?
Yeah.
I mean, think about those Bills fans that went to 4 straight Super Bowls. That's painful.
But 15 Super Bowls? That's a lot of Super Bowls.
Well, that's not going to be the Cowboys. Cowboys can't even get to a conference
I will
championship
take
in the
winning
next 30
one.
years. So
That's not even hard
yeah,
for me.
I guess.
Yeah.
But then again, I always defend the Trailblazers' logic of
Close
making
enough.
the playoffs first round, getting bounced.
Yeah, well, honestly, all the teams I support are, like, shitty. So just the thought of going to a Super Bowl, being a part of that pomp and circumstance, that would be electric.
The heartbreak, though.
But think of all the good, like, think
You get
about,
to go every year, I guess.
like, and just think about it. Like, imagine being a Browns fan or the Blazers, like when they went to the Western Conference Finals. Like, those moments of, like, winning these series that you're like, holy shit, I did not think we were going to get this far. And being in that moment, I don't know. That
I guess we just look at it completely differently because when you bring that up, the only thing you're doing to me is you're getting my hopes up even higher for a bigger heartbreak. And I just no way that I would take that.
yeah,
That sucks even more to get that close.
just got to think about the good times.
Yeah.
Win one.
Well, what probably won't be good times is what happens to our brackets this year.
Yeah, can you pull up, like, the quadrants, Pete?
I can.
Do
The
we have
quadrants.
Do we have the technology?
The quadrants.
We do. Well, this is like my bracket so far.
Oh,
So
you
I guess
idiot.
I'll just
Now
kinda
we'll see
zoom
your
in here,
picks
you
and-
guys.
Copy it.
Well,
Uh,
you're supporting Alabama, huh?
I don't want to be. I'm kind of hoping.
You big Brandon Miller fan?
I'm more so
you like
kind of.
murder?
I'm more so.
Meta.
Is that going to zoom in or not? There it goes.
There you go.
All right. So we
There
got
you-
Bama there. You know who I'm riding this year? I am riding because I'm not going to go with Colgate because I went back-to-back years on Colgate.
Is Colgate even in?
Colgate is in. They're a 15 seed, but they are facing Texas this year.
Oh, Texas
Texas
is
is
good.
good.
And Texas is pretty damn good. So my new dark horse, my new team that I'm going to ride is Furman. Furman, not in the tournament. The last time they were in was like 1980 or something like that. They are a 13 seed. They're squaring off against Virginia. And I have them beating Virginia in the first round, then going to play SDSU in round 2. They will lose to Alabama in the Sweet 16. But that's
Damn, Furman to the Sweet 16.
Furman to the Sweet 16. That's where I'm
Furman
going now.
can absolutely beat Virginia.
Yeah.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Virginia is not. The thing with Virginia is they rely so much on keeping it below 50. Their defense is always there, but they can't fucking score.
Yeah.
They can't score.
Yeah. And when, if I can kind of bring up, there's that whole, here, I can't read that here. I've got to bring it over. There's the Ken Palm ratings and rankings. And every year, since 2002, this logic has bared itself out. Last year, this happened with Kansas. Kansas ended up winning the national championship. So every year since 2002, the national championship belongs in this specific category. Under the Ken Palm rankings, which a lot of people use as gospel, every team that has won falls in the top 25 of adjusted defensive efficiency and in the top 40 of adjusted offensive efficiency. This year, there are 5 teams that qualify under that logic from champions over the last 20 years. Alabama, Houston, Texas, UConn, and Purdue. So you have two number 1 seeds, 3 number 1 seeds, a 4, and a 2.
All those teams are going to be tough. I think the 2 number 1 seeds that are going to go down first are Kansas and Houston.
You do think it's going to be Houston?
Because on the semifinals of the SEC championship, or whatever, where's Houston? SEC?
The American Athletic Conference. The AAC.
The semis of the AAC, one of their best players got hurt. Mm-hmm. They went on to play the championship and lost. And the person that they lost is big time. So I don't know his timetable on coming back. But and Houston also has a pretty tough bracket. I think Houston and Kansas will go down first as the 2 number 1 seeds. The 2 teams I think are going to be tough to beat are Purdue and Texas.
I agree with Texas. I think Purdue's going to go down early. And to answer your question, I heard that he will be back by the Sweet 16, by the 3rd round.
If they make it there.
Right. And so, let's see. So out of that, so Houston in their first round, they play NKU. Wherever the fuck. Oh, Northern Kentucky. That's right. And then, out of that bracket, another sleeper that I've got going on, Drake. A number 12 seed is going to take down Miami. Miami always seems to lose these types of games.
Miami also has a key player that's hurt.
Yeah. So I think that Drake is going to make their way to the Sweet 16 as well. So my 2 biggest ones I'm riding, Drake as a number 12, Furman as a number 13.
I think Charleston as a 13 seed beats Kentucky, number 4.
I like that as well.
Kentucky sucks.
Yeah.
Kentucky sucks
I actually
this
like
year.
that as well. I do. And I'm with you on Kansas. Whatever's happening with Bill Self, they were trying to say, like, oh, he had just like this routine catheterization. And be like, there's nothing routine about heart stuff. Like he basically had like clogged arteries and they needed to, we have kind of unique knowledge of that. Yeah,
Give him a stent?
Yeah, 2 stints put in.
Boom.
And now he's about to go into the most stressful gauntlet of his life. I mean, like,
Outside
with
of
the
that,
expectations that he needs to reach.
first of all, Bill Self, great guy. I hope he pulls through. Outside of that, though, I've seen like 20 Kansas games this season. They're not that good.
Yeah.
They're not that good. They just play. They play in a conference that they could usually dominate. They're usually in the championship, with the exception of a good Texas team or a good Baylor team to challenge them.
Yeah.
But really, they don't even have the same team as last year. I don't think Kansas is that good. And also, just to step outside of the bracket, Clemson not making it, fucking absurd. It's insane that Clemson's not in the tournament. And can we just fucking celebrate that North Carolina is not in the tournament?
and you have
Beautiful.
the Blue Dew
That's
Devils to
fucking
thank on that
beautiful.
one. So I thought it was a little interesting. I know that their losses and then their like combined wins weren't very good. Was Rutgers
Carolina?
No, I thought that Rutgers was a pretty big snub. going
Rutgers
into it.
was a snub. Clemson was atop the ACC for half the season, and they had 3 or 4 quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
There's no way they shouldn't. They should have been in. At least they should have been in over Nevada for a play-in tomorrow, playing ASU. Like they shouldn't have been snubbed.
I also really like UCLA. UCLA, they had that deep run last year. They bring a lot of core guys back. They have a more favorable bracket this time around. So I'm riding UCLA a little bit as well.
You watch the tournament every single year. The one common denominator of every team that wins is the exact opposite of the NBA.
You want a defensive team.
Well, every team that wins has a solid big guy.
Oh, sure.
It's around a big guy, and the best big man this season is Zach Edey from Purdue.
From Purdue, yeah.
He's hard to stop.
He's gigantic.
And he's improved so much from his freshman year to now. They murdered Duke in Portland by like 20.
Yeah.
And they're on the same bracket. If Duke somehow gets through the 12-5 and gets through like the Tennessee or whoever else they could face and they face Purdue, that's pretty scary. The one thing will be the revenge factor and that Duke they look completely different than they did 2 months ago. But I'm worried about Purdue.
I know a lot of
I think Purdue goes down early.
I would love nothing more because I'm scared of them.
I
You
know.
think Duke loses to Oral Roberts?
No.
I don't know.
I think that they'll lose to
I
Tennessee.
hope not. I'm rooting for Duke for your case. It's a better world when Duke
It is a
wins.
better world when we're not having
But Oral Roberts is on a run right now.
Well, that's the thing
Pretty
is
scary.
like they basically
They're both on a good run.
the thing that's scary about this 12-5 is number one, it's a 12-5,
Yeah.
which in history tells you that it's 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, like, in history technically is 61-39, but it feels more
That's-
like 50-50.
First of all, 61-39 in the first round is way too fucking close.
Yeah.
But two, they're both on if you watch both of them, granted I've seen more Duke games than I have seen Oral Roberts games. Oral Roberts has been 18-0 in their last 18 games. They're also a 30-win team. Duke started off the season, and I said, they'll probably make the tournament unless they lose 10 games. They didn't lose 10 games.
Yeah.
Before the ACC tourney, I'm like, I would be happy if they make it to the second round. Just to the weekend from a Thursday game. And then they go on an incredible 9-game streak where they have looked like the best team in the fucking country. Wins the ACC tournament. Filipowski's averaging a double-double, gets Rookie of the Year, and now they're facing the team with the exact same run pattern on a 12-5. Outside of
It's going to be a good game.
because Duke is usually favored when it comes to the side of the bracket. They're usually in like Greensboro. But now they're still in the East, but the seeding didn't match up. So they had to
Are they up in Albany?
they're up in Orlando.
Oh, they're down in Orlando.
They're down in
okay.
Orlando, so they're in the Purdue bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So if Duke squeezes through the first round and the second round, then it'll be the Tennessee. And then if they squeeze through that, it's Purdue. If Purdue doesn't go down.
Yeah.
But it's scary.
So go for it.
I was just going to say, I do feel like this is a bracket or a grouping of teams that for the first time in a while, I feel like there's a lot more opportunity for parity. I feel like Alabama is a team that kind of sticks out as being dominant. I think personally Houston is a team, but obviously dealing with an injury, they're losing a little bit of that. And, people may say Purdue. I don't see that. But everybody else, I feel like, is kind of on a somewhat even playing field. I feel like there could be a lot of surprises. I don't think that I don't know. I feel like in the past there's kind of been like, okay, there's these 6 teams that we're going to kind of hold everybody above everybody.
Sure.
Whereas I feel like there's less of that. There's more
Yeah, I
chance
know.
for
There's not
parity.
like Gonzaga comes in as a 3 seed, but like Gonzaga was like, running running away with everything
Yeah.
and the greatest offense ever and all that.
Gonzaga's not going anywhere.
Right. I do wonder if Brandon Miller will feel the weight of all of this stuff that has been going on. He's been kind of in this sheltered environment with all of the murder and gun charges, or I guess lack thereof, that he is, around right now. I love how how CBS is trying to sidestep even mentioning the fact that he was involved with furnishing a weapon that led to the murder of multiple people or whatever.
The one thing we've always said, the difference between college football and college basketball is night and day when it comes to, just how anything can happen in the tournament. The one thing that they have that's common is you look at a team like Alabama and you're like, wow, they're so fucking dominant. No, they're not. They've played a small section of the fucking country.
Yeah.
It is no different.
In an SEC that is not the same as football.
It's no different than an SEC football team playing somebody in the Pac-12, and you see the difference with the Oregon, Georgia. You see the difference.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Alabama, even with their non-conference schedules, hasn't played anyone. Alabama faces a Houston or a Purdue or even a fucking Michigan State. They're done.
Yeah.
They're not that good.
This is what I love. These are kind of the things that I look at. And granted, it's not the greatest theory, but here's what I love. I love a team that has lost recently. I love a team that has lost in their conference championship or something like that, right? To where they can know what that taste is like a little bit. When you're like the Gonzagas of the world, it's just like winning everything. Like, what adversity do you face in that moment? I also love more of a defensive-minded team. The Houston type of team will favor you. You got to think about the storylines as well. The reason why I think the stars are going to align on Houston, because Houston's been knocking on the door for years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have the Mattress Mac stuff that's going to bubble up again because of the Houston connection.
It's the fucking
or
script.
whatever. But think about this. Houston being a top seed, you have the Final Four
is in Houston
at Energy Stadium. Guess who went to University of Houston and is calling his last championship game ever? Jim Nance. And so when you think about that kind of trifecta stars align type of thing, that's why I would love it for it to be Houston, is just to see all of those little things lining up in just such a poetic way.
The best part about that stuff, though, is if we're talking about that in the NFL or the NBA, it's really easy to believe, and it's much easier to get on the bandwagon of, oh yeah, this is going to line up where this is going to happen. If there's one event, shit could get blown up, it's March Madness.
Yeah, it is.
It's a fucking Furman going, yeah, fuck that script. I'm going to beat you, and then it's going to be over.
Furman, hey, I'll call it now. Furman will beat Alabama and go to the Elite Eight.
You never know, man.
You never know. I think
I'm excited.
I learned my lesson with Colgate, so
I'm interested to see how this process goes, because I'm gonna have Jarrah fill it out for me or something, make it easier. But
just imagine if we can bet on this.
Well, hey,
I know.
Are we trying to go up to
A-L-N-A?
to A-L-N-A this weekend?
I'm down.
I haven't looked at my schedule. Maybe we try and get ourselves
A
up
Saturday A-L-N-A, I'm free.
A Saturday A-L-N-A. Saturday A-L-N-A.
I don't know what I'm doing Saturday. I'll have to look into that.
Just think about because there's going to be so many screens in your current visibility thing. You can see way more screens than we can.
Totally. Totally, man.
Yeah, it's like,
Makes
sense. What's the score of that one over there? You got me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You got me.
I'm excited though. March. It's March, baby.
March, baby.
It's just, there's nothing. You can point out certain things where you can think, oh, it's going to line up this way. Yes, teams going through adversity thinking they're going to respond, but you've also seen it the other way around. And it's like, what? You don't know anything until the game starts.
Yeah.
It's like the Duke lost ACC championship last year to Virginia Tech, makes a deep run to the Final Four. And then you think they're facing Carolina, who ruined Coach K's moment
Yeah.
on the last home game. This should be an absolute murder of a fucking revenge, and then they lose.
And they lose.
It's like, how do these 19, 20-year-olds respond in the moment as soon as it's tipped off? So you just don't know. And there's
Yeah.
so many runs that could happen, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I fucking love March Madness.
I know. And in a few weeks, we'll probably all be sitting here being like, wow, I can't believe
Yeah.
San
So
Diego State pulled that off.
whatever you think now, go against yourself.
Yeah.
You'll probably have
Fade
a higher-
yourself.
Fade yourself. Probably have a
Listen
higher
to this
likelihood.
episode when it comes out, and you'll hear, oh yeah, Furman's beating
Furman.
Alabama.
Watch Colgate win.
In a month, you're like, why the fuck did I have Furman winning the first round?
Because I needed my new Colgate. So I've got two. I've got Drake and I've got Furman.
Drake.
So Drake is actually a pretty good one, I think. So
We'll see.
we'll see.
We'll see. First game, they're down 80. Oh, that's bad.
It is bad.
They can come back.
Well, that's all I've got.
Really?
Yeah. Do you have any more?
No.
Okay. I
Miguel?
was like, I thought that I covered a lot here.
Say hi in German. Say hi in German to our guy.
Ni hao ma.
That's Chinese. That's Mandarin. Do we have any listeners in China?
Oh, we might. There's a lot of censored stuff.
Yeah,
there.
probably
There's
not.
No Chinese audience.
How do you say hi in German? How do you say hello?
Hello. in
Moshi
German.
moshi.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know this.
Die.
Shiza.
That's,
I think that's a bad word.
Shit.
you want to know what hello in German is? Hello.
How's it spelled?
Hallo. Hello.
Like
Hello.
like intimidating. Hello.
Like intimidating?
Hello.
Goodness gracious. All right.
This is
Clear
full.
eyes.
Full hearts.
Get loose.